I think I actually have gotten to the crux of why straight people hate gay people, and it's usually uh, it usually is. It's like saying, it's usually white people hate black people. It usually is white people hate black people. And, it's usually straight people hate gay people. Like the majority hates the minority. That's the way it works out. And, uh, I mean, it can go the other way too, but like, systems of oppression, we can have that discussion later over, some cocktails, uh, um, when we're both older and wiser. Uh, so I think that the bottom line for the gays hating or the straights hating the gays is I it's our lives are better. Like my life is, you know, my life is pretty easy. Like we have a small well-behaved dog. We aren't going to accidentally get pregnant. You know, I it's now that I know, earlier in life when I was younger, and living in places like the South, like because I was, hadn't made it out here yet to the Jerusalem for gay people, like where suddenly being gay wasn't an issue, but other things became an issue. But the glass ceiling of being gay, I wasn't afraid for my life every day like I was in like the South, for example. Uh, yeah, I I realized recently, now that I've watched sort of the arc of life and my friends are in their 40s and stuff, like a lot of my friends really bitterly complain about having kids. It's the women because they're the primary caretakers and they're like, "Oh man, I had no idea it was so hard." And I'm like, God, didn't your mom complain about how you were the thing that ruined her life all the time? Like, I thought everybody's mom did that. Like, that's what my mom did. Like, I knew I wasn't going to have kids because I didn't want to have something and bring something into my life that was going to make me as miserable as I made my mother. Like, she was like birth control. Like, I was never going to follow in her footsteps because, you know, she told me I made her miserable. It was very clear that me and my siblings made my mother miserable. She was very, very clear about that. And it's funny because in my 20s, she was on this campaign to try to get me to reproduce, and I was like, I know what's coming if I do that. You taught me well. This is a trick. So when my friends complain about, how hard it is to raise kids and how they didn't see it coming, I'm just shocked. Like, I just wonder, like, God, was your mom just always really nice and said you were like the joy of her life? Or, like, didn't your mom ever freak out? Like, doesn't everyone's mom freak out? Because it's an impossible, thankless, horribly difficult, impossible job, like, to be a mom. Like, I thought everybody, I mean, I just assumed. Why wouldn't you? I think most people in that situation would. So, I think that's the crux of I think that's the crux. My friends call me and they're exhausted and the kids are screaming in the background. We can't even have a conversation. And I'm like, is your husband home? Like, are you alone? And they're like, no, he's here. And I'm like, well, why are the kids screaming? And they're like, well, he doesn't really do anything. Like, he doesn't really watch the kids. And you're like, oh, all right, well, I'll let you go because obviously, like, they're about to kill each other or something. Like, there's a crisis going on. We can't even hear each other talking. I'll talk to you later. So I just I think the point of straights not liking the gays is it's just because our lives are better. Like, we sleep in on Sundays, we have sex whenever we want. Like, you know, we have a little dog, we have a little well-behaved dog, so we have something to take care of and stuff. But it's not like, another human being. Uh, he's pretty much better behaved and smarter than I am. So that's pretty easy. When people ask us how we're doing and they've got kids, we like don't even want to say anything. Like, how was your weekend? Like, we're like, good. How was yours? Like, you kind of want to tiptoe through it, especially if you know their kids are like projectile vomiting or something. Like, you can tell that they're sort of trying to put on a happy face, but they're exhausted. So I think that's the thing. I think it's really just jealousy that, you know, my life is better. It's easy, man. It's like our life our life is, I gotta say, it's pretty easy. And I would be, if the shoe were on the other foot, I think I'd be pretty pissed off too. I'd be like, hey, I was told a bad bill of goods. I was told to do this, and this is hard and impossible, and you weren't sold that bill of goods. You you're sleeping in and having brunch. You're going for hikes. Like, I want my life back, man. So, to all the people out there who are going through that, bringing on the next generation, thank you. Let me just say, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate all the work that you do. Thanks for doing it. Someone's got to. So one of my pet peeves that'll maybe unpopular, I don't care, um, is when you tell somebody that like you've been going through some major thing, like the doctors are looking for cancer or something, that like would really scare the bejesus out of anyone, just like objectively, and and instead of discussing it with you, instead of saying how do you feel or you must be scared or offering some kind of support or empathy or any other thing that basically an objective human being would do with another human being if they were actually focused on love and support and connection and all of that. My pet peeve is when they say, "I'll pray for you," which to me is like saying, "Oh, you're going through a crisis. Let me tell you, I'm going to call my imaginary friend and I'm going to discuss you and your circumstances with my imaginary friend and behind your back because, you know, that's what that is. That's what, like, I will pray for you. Like, yeah, send good vibes or whatever. I know that it's well intended. I'm not going to argue that point. I know that they mean the best. But in the future, if anybody approaches you and says, like, they're going through a crisis and they need your support, don't say, I'll pray for you. Just freaking call them and ask them how they're doing. Don't talk about your imaginary friends and how you're going to discuss them with your imaginary friends because, being the person who's, in the situation, it sucks. It sucks. It's like saying, like, I'm sure the kids who are starving in other countries or in our own, let's be frank, I'm sure, like, there's like these well meaning people that say, I'll pray for you, but their bellies are still empty. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, don't say I'll pray for you. Just go out and do something good, man. Do something good. That'll call your friends. Like, love your people. Like, that's what does some good. Prayers don't do the good that actual love does. So, more unsolicited advice. That's what I'm here for. Just doing my job, man. The housing market bottomed out was because there aren't enough gay people to raise the property values. Because every time we move into a neighborhood, the property values all of a sudden skyrocket. So, if there were more gays, the property values would have stayed up high. That was what happened. Nobody ever gives us credit for this, but we move into the neighborhood and you're going to be able to borrow against some serious equity next time they do a little drive-by, uh, you know, home price. They'll look around, they'll be like, oh, there's gays in this neighborhood. Your house just went up 100,000. I mean, I keep worrying that, like, some redneck's going to, like, kidnap us and be like, my property values have gone down so far on my trailer park. I want you, sir, to do whatever it is you do, paint, flowers, I don't know what the hell you guys do, but every time you come around, property values skyrocket, so that's what I want you to do. You raise the property values in this trailer park, or I swear to God, I'll kill you. That's what I'm concerned about. I mean, I don't know why they beat us to death. Like, why not just kidnap us and make us, like, live in your neighborhood and raise the freaking property values, and then you can sell your house for a lot more than you bought it for and move to another neighborhood. Jesus Christ, that would make a lot more economic sense. I can't wait till the South catches on to the fact that, we raise property values and all you have to do is, like, not beat us to death and we'll come around and raise your freaking property values. Jesus Christ, how fucking hard is that? Look what San Francisco did. Look what New York did. What do you know? LA, same thing, all over the place. As soon as everybody knows it's gay, whoop, property values skyrocket. Telling you, man, that's the next. I think the next wave of hate crime is going to be like kidnapping to redo your neighborhood so the property values go up. But hey, don't tell anyone that that's what we do because a lot of people don't know about it yet. It's a secret. It's an urban secret. So shh, don't tell anyone.